What's going on YouTube? So for years, crossovers like the Honda Pilot and Toyota Highlander dominated the three-row family segment with little to no serious competition. But recently, there have been some serious newcomers. The Kia Telluride has been making waves for a few years, and now we have this all-new 2024 Mazda CX-90. Based on a premium rear-wheel drive platform, paired with an inline-six engine and tons of luxury, has it jumped even past the Telluride? Let's go ahead and find out. So like always, let's quickly set the stage by discussing which trim levels we have and their prices. Today we have the fully loaded versions of both models. So for the Telluride, that would be the SX Prestige. It's a great value for what you get, at $52,970 all in. Now moving on to the all-new CX-90, Mazda has positioned this as both a mainstream offering and a near luxury option on the top end. Because of this, they offer a higher powered version, which we have, and which brings it a big price tag of $61,920. We will get into the price difference more in the value section, but for now, let's get into all the details of how they stack up against each other. These two family crossovers really push the boundaries of the luxury space, and they have designs that say as much. The Telluride's masculine and handsome exterior has been very well received, and for 2023, they have refined it further with some upgrades. By comparison, the new CX-90's look is less tough and more sophisticated. It has smooth lines, including the newest version of the signature Mazda grille. The full LED headlights nicely integrate with the fascia, and they are adaptive unlike the LED lights on the Telluride. However, only the Kia includes fog lamps. Checking out the sides, they are both very large, but the CX-90 is one of the longest options in the class. Part of that is the new rear-wheel drive architecture it is riding on, which is also why you will notice a difference in their proportions. The designs are accented by stylish 20-inch alloy wheels on the Kia and 21s on the Mazda. Around back, the same design themes continue. Both have exposed wipers and LED taillights, although the Mazdas are more premium since the reverse light is LED and the turn signals have a premium fading effect. But let's move beyond the design and get into some important features and specs. Both models' mirrors are fully loaded with heating, power folding, auto dimming, and blind spot monitoring systems. They both also have the main active safety system standard across the board. Towing for both models comes in at 5,000 pounds, but the warranties are different. The Mazda has a typical one for the industry, while Kia continues to have the longest one out there at 10 years and 100,000 miles. Alright, that's it for the exteriors, so now let's check out the luxurious cabins before we take them out for a test drive. So walking up to the vehicles, both models have smart entry systems, but the Telluride has phone as key as well as remote start on the fob, free for life. Once you open up the doors, you will be shocked at just how upscale both interiors are from mainstream brands. They stand out in all the right ways, with beautiful selections of high-quality materials. But before we get into that, let's talk about the seats specifically. Both are covered in high-end Nappa leather with elaborate stitching details. They are also heated and ventilated with memory, but the Telluride does have more adjustability with 14 ways versus 10 ways. Neither offer massaging. Now once fully inside the cabins, you can begin to take in just how luxurious they are. The Telluride uses a mixture of soft-touch plastic, very realistic faux wood trim, and then covers the center console and the signature handlebars in Nappa leather. But the Mazda's environment does it one better by adding real open-pore wood all throughout the cabin and beautiful Japanese cloth design across the dashboard for the white color choice. Plus, there is no piano black to be found anywhere. After startup, you'll see two 12.3-inch full digital gauge clusters, a first for Mazda. The Telluride, however, has a blind spot camera system, although both of them have large head-up displays with useful information such as blind spot monitoring. Coming back to the steering wheels, both are leather-wrapped and heated, and only the Mazda includes power adjustment. Next up, we have the very important aspect of interior storage, which is an area where the Kia has a clear advantage. The new CX-90 has a shallow center console compared to the Telluride, and up in the front, it only has enough space for a wireless phone charging pad. The Kia has the charging pad and then plenty of extra space for other stuff. Moving on to the shifters, the Telluride has a traditional one, while the CX-90 has a new electronic design. Beyond that, when in reverse, they both pull up 360-degree camera systems with excellent resolutions. The Telluride does have one advantage though, and that's a special 3D view. Moving up the dash, we have 3-zone automatic climate controls before we come to the volume knobs for the audio systems. Let's go ahead and take a sound sample. Besides the different speaker counts, they both sound good and are essentially the same. And now that brings us to the infotainment systems, and there's a lot to discuss here. While they both have nice 12.3-inch displays, Mazda's native infotainment software prohibits touch, so you have to use the control knob on the dash. As you would expect, this makes operation more difficult. The exception to this is that you can touch the screen when parked and using Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, which brings me to the next point. These systems run wirelessly in the CX-90, while you have to connect them via a wire in the Telluride. Moving above the screens, both have auto-dimming rearview mirrors, but it is also a digital camera mirror on the Telluride once you flip the switch. Finally, up top, both have forms of panoramic sunroofs, although the Telluride's is a dual-panel setup, and the Mazda's is a more premium one-piece arrangement. But while you're gazing at the glass, you will notice the premium Alcantara headliner on the Telluride, something that you don't often find outside of a German luxury vehicle. Size certainly matters in this segment, and the rear areas are where this really starts to come into play. While the CX-90 has grown quite a bit over the small CX-9 it replaces, it still hasn't quite caught up with the largest choices in the segment, which include the Telluride. The Kia has about 7% more legroom, but the headroom advantage is less than the 5% required to score a point. But the rear amenities are where you will really start to be blown away, or your kids at least. Both have sunshades, rear climate controls, 2 USB ports, plus sliding and reclining seats. Additionally, both their rear seats are heated and ventilated, which is something that is very uncommon even in luxury SUVs. A couple differences are the fact that the Telluride has a household power outlet back here, and the CX-90 has a dedicated center console, which allows for storage and a more executive kind of feel. Moving on to the third row of seats, both crossovers have a very convenient one-touch folding and sliding mechanism to give you a nice pathway. And once in the third row, they are very similar in terms of the official measurements. But that doesn't tell the whole story, because the Telluride is more comfortable. The seats are lower to the floor on the Mazda, which means your legs will be more jacked up and you have less thigh support. Both of them have vents, cup holders, and USB ports. However, the highest-end CX-90 only has 2 seats back here, while the Telluride has 3 third-row chairs. Now moving around to the rear, both have smart opening tailgates. And once they open up, you'll find plenty of space for your cargo needs. That's not to say they are equal though, because they are not. Even though the CX-90 is longer, the packaging of this new platform means that it has less space with all 3 seating configurations than the Telluride. As a maximum, with the seats folded, the Mazda comes in at about 15% less space than the Kia, which, depending on your needs, could be an important distinguishing factor between them. Neither of them have power folding third rows, but the Mazda does have a household outlet back here for tailgating. Now, let's head out on the road, because I know you guys have really been looking forward to this part. This is definitely the area where they differ the most outside of the cargo space. The Telluride uses a traditional powertrain for the segment, which is a 3.8-liter naturally aspirated V6 engine with 291 horsepower. But the Mazda really shakes things up here with their brand new turbocharged inline 6. It's available in 2 tunes, but since we have the max loaded model, we have the high output version, making 340 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. As you would expect, this makes for a very noticeable acceleration advantage.
All right, and there's past 60 miles an hour in the all-new Mazda CX-90. Now, that was in sport mode, to be completely clear. I wanted to go ahead and give you guys the best acceleration possible for the beginning. I'll go ahead and put her back in normal mode to turn down that engine noise. But you know what's under the hood of this new CX-90. It's a big deal. It's the all-new inline 6-cylinder that Mazda has produced.
Now, you could probably tell from how fast that acceleration was. We've got the most powerful version of the brand new 3.3-liter turbo inline 6-cylinder, 340 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque.
Nice.
Nice, exactly, nice.
Nice.
Just like that, you're up to 60 miles an hour in the 2023 Kia Telluride. Now, like we mentioned in the spec dump at the very beginning, amongst all the changes that we have exterior and interior wise, the powertrain situation is going to stay exactly the same for 2023. Not sad about it or anything, but that does mean you'll still have the 3.8-liter naturally aspirated V6 engine. Again, 291 horsepower, 262 pound-feet of torque. Now, the other aspects of the powertrains are 8-speed automatic transmissions on both and all-wheel drive systems. As far as the other element of the powertrain, we have a 8-speed automatic transmission. Really nice and smooth transmission. When it comes to this segment of vehicle specifically, you know, it's really all about that smooth and refined feel. And this is a great transmission because you can just ignore it most of the time. We've got an 8-speed automatic transmission on board. We also have standard all-wheel drive. I believe it was last year Mazda went ahead and made all-wheel drive standard across every single vehicle in their lineup. The transmissions go about their business smoothly and unobtrusively. But I do want to mention that the CX-90 also has a 48-volt mild hybrid system. This means the engine can turn off under light loads, and it powers a very smooth auto start-stop system, which is better than the Telluride's. Part of that is probably due with the fact that this is a 48-volt mild hybrid system, so as we've observed today during our drive, as you're coming to a stop, you're able to have that advanced auto start-stop, so the engine will go ahead and turn off. Sometimes even under light loads when you're going fast on the highway,
we were going 75 miles an hour and the engine turned off when we were going down a hill.
Yeah, coasting. So you know,
it's actually off right now as we speak. As soon as I let off the accelerator, it went ahead and turned off, and then when I put my foot gently back on, it turns on, and you can't notice it, you can't feel it at all.
Now let's get into the ride qualities, which is important for this kind of family SUV. I do want to preface by saying that the CX-90 is not uncomfortable by any stretch of the imagination, but it is definitely firmer than the Telluride. A combination of the stiffer suspension and larger wheels means that you will feel more of the harsh impacts from the road.
Now, I do want to talk about the ride quality while we're going highway speed here. This Telluride really has phenomenal ride quality. You'll notice that as we're just cruising down this highway, when you hit a bump, it soaks it up really well. Of course, that's the main mission of something in this segment, is to ride good, and I have absolutely zero complaints with this vehicle. Also, the seats are super comfortable. But now that we're just kind of cruising along here on a beautiful Napa highway here, I want to talk about the ride quality for this new CX-90. This model is very much focused on luxury. Like we had mentioned at the beginning of the video, This particular model that we're in today actually is going against luxury competition like an Acura MDX, Volvo XC90. So it has to ride good, and so far this morning we've been nothing but impressed. The CX-90 has phenomenal ride quality. The seats are incredibly comfortable. We've hit a lot of big bumps in the road, and it just does a great job of soaking it up.
Now on the flip side of this, Mazda always cares more about driving dynamics than pretty much any other brand, and you do feel that in the CX-90. While you certainly couldn't call it sporty, you can feel the benefits of the rear-wheel drive-based architecture, more limited body roll, and especially the responsive steering setup.
Alright, and I flipped her into sport mode again, so let's go ahead and see how this CX-90 handles. The sport mode. This is a big 3-row, but it is a Mazda after all. I love the powertrain. And when you put it into sport mode, it definitely gets a lot louder. You hear that full inline 6 in its glory, which I like a lot. And as far as driving dynamics, so we've been driving this for a little over an hour. We came from San Francisco to Napa, so we had some city driving, we've had some highway driving. And the feel I get behind the wheel with the CX-90 is really, really good.
The fundamentals of having that rear-wheel drive chassis, you know, like Mason was just kind of hitting the gas hard going around that corner there, you know, there's just certain like things with physics that can't be changed, you know, and when you have a rear drive platform that makes the primary drive wheels in the back, that's going to be able to get you that little bit of extra cornering. The weight transfer goes to the back, helping you accelerate. You know, it's just, you know, you're starting out basically with a more premium experience. Another aspect of comfort is sound insulation. So let's look at the decibel readings. As far as the numbers, the Telluride has the advantage. However, because we were driving the CX-90 in California, the road surface was rougher than what we usually test on at home in Kentucky. Nevertheless, those were the decibel readings, although we won't score it until we get an official CX-90 rating.
And let's go ahead and get one of our Car Confections signature elements, our sound level reading, going 55 miles per hour. My, oh my. So the Telluride actually is the quietest vehicle we've tested in the entire segment, and we just got a reading that's even quieter than the previous Telluride that we tested out, which was the SX Prestige with the X Pro package, which does make sense because that has some knobby off-road tires. This one is coming in at 53.6 decibels.
Alrighty, looks like the lowest number we achieved here is 57.6 decibels. Now, as far as how that ranks against the competition, that's going to put it at about mid-pack in our rating scales of vehicles in this segment. Do keep in mind, this is on a press drive. We're in California in the Napa area, so it's not the exact same road that we have in Kentucky. We'll, you know, reserve final judgment. One of the biggest surprises of this comparison is just how much better the fuel economy rating is on the CX-90, despite its big power advantage. It is one of the most efficient non-hybrid 3-row SUVs on the market. So let's circle back to value and the price difference between the two, which is a substantial $8,950. To make up for this difference in value, we will award a half point per $1,000, or 4.5 points. So there you have it, two of the best new 3-row family crossovers faced off and battled until the end. The biggest distinguishing differences between these two are the space and the price. And I do want to point out that the price is something that can be lowered quite a bit on the CX-90. The standard engine has less power, but you can get most of the features you saw in this video for about $54,000 in the top trim. So what do you guys think? Is this CX-90 the best 3-row family SUV? Or are you picking the Telluride, which remains an amazing value for the price? Or would you pick something else entirely, like the Palisade or the upcoming Grand Highlander? Let us know in the comments below. We look forward to making more comparisons of all the top products in this segment, so if you don't want to miss out, make sure you subscribe. This will keep you up to date with all the latest and greatest cars on the market, and it helps us out tremendously. We appreciate your support, and join us again as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.